Hey, how's it going, guys? It's Technical Tim here. I want to thank everyone so much who's been liking all my videos. I really appreciate it if you gave this video a thumbs up or subscribe if you haven't already. And I'm going to just do, I don't like this UFC China card all that much for betting, but I do have a couple of plays, and that's kind of why I haven't sent out all too many videos, because I didn't have much great information to share yet. But generally, just as a rule of thumb, cards like this, kind of some of these international cards, you'll have a lot of regional fighters coming up, and they'll be fighting even against each other. And generally, it's almost like a ton of Tuesday Night Contender Series type of fights, where it's hard to completely gauge the skills of them because you don't have data of them against comparable competition. So sometimes it's hard. Some of them are fighting better competition than others outside of the UFC, and I tape all of them just in case, because you can find value on some. It's just I tend to stay away from them unless if I'm really confident in something. So I generally am staying away from a lot of fights on this card, so I'm just going to kind of quickly, I'll go through each fight and quickly pass through the ones that I'm not playing, which are most of them, but I might say a thing or two about each one. And then the couple that I do have picks on, I'll give a little more in-depth discussion on that. So let's get straight to it. So hold on one second. So we got a first fight, Carol Rosa and Lara Propasio, or Prosapio, whatever the fuck her name is. This is the only fight I haven't taped. I'm going to take a quick look at it. I tried to kind of tape it, and I know there's kind of lack of tape on one of those fighters, so I'm just going to kind of not say much about that, but I'm going to tape that. We got 9 hours till the event, and I know this fight's kind of been jumping around even money, so I'll take a look at it, but I doubt I'll have action on that. I'm going to butcher every single one of these names, just so you know. Hailey Alateng versus Danaa Botgrell. I taped this, and a lot of people seem to jump on Alateng kind of early when he was around plus 150, which I agreed with. I would arb out personally if you got that line. I tended to think he was going to win whenever I taped. He looks a little faster in the pocket, but the other guy kind of seems tough and come forward. Batgarel, I'm just going to call him Danaa. I have no idea if that's right. The other guy, Danaa, he's kind of come forward, and I do think he's at a speed disadvantage here. I think Alateng's a little quicker, and I think Alateng's probably a little bit better of a grappler, but he didn't tend to go to that game plan of wrestling all that much. But I think this will actually be a pretty fun fight, but I just don't have strong opinions. I know I say Alateng looks a little better on tape, but how many times have you guys seen whenever someone looks all of a sudden way better on the Contender Series after watching some of their fights on YouTube, and then all of a sudden they're kind of a different fighter, or one of them is worse than on their tape? It's just kind of hard, so I don't have strong opinions on that. Next fight, Damir Ismagulov and Thiago Moises. This is a good fight. This is probably one of the more skilled fights on the card, I would say. But Damir's kind of your typical kind of, Russian striker / point fighter / he can wrestle a little bit too. And I really like his distance control. He doesn't always put emphasis on rounds, but one thing I do like about him, though, is he tends to win rounds pretty clear because he doesn't get hit much, and he's hard to take down. So it's really hard to get your own offense going up against him, because he won't always put emphasis with his strikes and doesn't have all that much power, but he's really good defensively, super good. I think Moises will have to just land something big, because I don't think he'll land all that consistent. Moises goes to leg kicks every now and then, and I watched some of Damir's fights in M1, and he kind of evades leg kicks actually pretty well. And I think his hands are faster, and I like his overall just kind of point scoring, striking type of cardio better, meaning he can kind of keep just kind of consistently landing some strikes. I wish he would throw a little more volume. I'm thinking about playing him here if I play him, I don't think it will be like a big play, but I think I might throw a little bit of change on him. I haven't decided, but it's just I don't see where Moises can get all that much offense going because I think Demir's the better overall striker. Moises has some good leg kicks and some good elbows kind of inside the pocket, but Demir's just really hard to hit. It would have to be something kind of random. Like it would just kind of be like shit happening if Damir kind of got hit with some big shots. But I overall think Damir will land the more noticeable strikes, and I like his defense a lot better. And if you watch Moises against, who was it? I'm not talking about a UFC fight. It was against, I think it was against, it was in LFA. Robert Watley, Robert Watley. He's also kind of like in PFL a lot too, but he looked super uncomfortable with some of the straight strikes and everything. And I do think Moises will want to kind of take this to the ground, kind of like he did to Halaba. And overall, I like Demir's overall defensive wrestling. So that's where I'm kind of like, I wonder where Moises can actually land offense, because I think he'll just have, on the feet, I don't think he'll be able to land all that often. It'll just kind of, if he lands something big, he lands something big and we just get in. But I just don't think he'll be landing as much, and the optics won't look as good either because he'll be moving backwards. And then on the floor, I don't think he can consistently get Damir down. Demir's really good at, so Moises will get the body lock, and he'll kind of squeeze with an over-under and then kind of shift to the side and take you down. And Damir digs for double underhooks quickly, kind of in that clinch position, to then circle back and take the position in the clinch. I think there's going to be a lot of clinching and an over-under game up against the cage, where I think Damir's probably a little better later in the fight. Like, I think he has a little better cardio, and overall, I think he'll just kind of like, I think he'll win the striking. In the clinch, I think he'll defend himself, and Thiago won't be able to land all that much offense, and then I don't think he'll get taken down all that much. And I do think if anyone's on top, it will be Damir, although I don't think he'll consistently get Moises down like Dariush did. I don't think Damir's quite on that level with his takedowns. I do think they're pretty good. I could see him getting some takedowns, but not like with complete ease. He'll have to work for them. But overall, I just kind of think Damir will win a somewhat competitive fight. I think every time these guys fight, it will be pretty competitive, but I just think Damir has more round-winning offense. So I might play a little bit on him. He's currently minus 185. Zhang and Ibragimov. A lot of people seem to be on Zhang here. I taped this and was just kind of like, I don't fucking know. Like maybe Zhang wins. Like, I don't know. They're just fighting two low level of guys, and it's hard to kind of for me to know. So I'm just going to say that. Sukhamthath and Su Matajeri. I've been going back and forth all week on whether or not to play Sukhamthath. Like, if he consistently went to a game plan and closed distance and kind of got in boxing range and clinched up and went for takedowns and things like that and kind of kept it a close quarter fight with grappling involved, I think he could be minus 400 here. If he stands at distance, I still don't know if Mutajeri is all that much better at distance. Like, Mutajeri, if you look at his record, like his wins, whenever he's kind of like, he's got some cool, like, highlight reel type of KOs that you would see in, like, a karate choreographed movie or some shit. Like, it's flashy and it's fun, but it's against really shitty people, and I just don't think he'll be able to, unless he could land something big, but Sukhamthath is tough, but I don't think he'll, like, consistently outstrike Sukhamthath, even from distance. I don't know. He can certainly compete there, and maybe he could win, and that's his best chance to win. But even if Sukhamthath fights dumb, he might be okay from there. Like, if you look at Matajeri's record, also, like, almost all the people he beat are 0-1, or like 2-1, or 1-1, and a lot of those guys lost like 5 fights in a row after, and so he just hasn't beaten anyone good, man. And even stylistically, I think, like, Sukhamthath fought one southpaw kicker in Jonathan Martinez, and he did a good job like closing distance. If he fought like he did against Martinez, he's gonna win here. I can't decide. I can't decide on that one. Either way, I won't go big. Either way, I won't go big on him or Demir, to be honest. Like, I might throw something on both of them, but nothing like crazy. Park and Hernandez, this is another, like, up in the air. I don't fucking know. I think Hernandez's grappling looked pretty good against Brendan Allen in LFA, and I could see him winning the grappling here. I do think Park's probably the better boxer, so I could see either guy winning, to be honest, and I don't really know. Like, I don't know. I just haven't seen these guys go against enough UFC level competition to know for sure. So I'm going to be saying that a lot on some of these fights, but I will offer some advice on some others. Krantz and Song Kenan. I tend to think Krantz will win that fight. Also not going to play it. I think he's the better wrestler and could probably get some top time going, but he does kind of like get a little tired on the feet and kind of fatigued. But then he can still, even when he's tired, he can still kind of grapple through it and be okay if he's in top positions. I could see him tiring out and still pushing through it and winning via top position. But I'm just worried if he kind of tires out and it's in China, in Song Kenan's home country, and he might just get, I could see him just kind of like tiring out and getting a little bit lit up on the feet, but Song Kenan also doesn't throw enough for me to play Song Kenan either, so I don't give a fuck. If I had to guess, I think Krantz might win, or is probably going to win, but no strong opinions there, I don't really care. Wu Yanan versus Mizuki Inoue. This is the first fight that I have like actual action on. I'm playing Mizuki here. Interesting fight. So Mizuki, if you don't know much about her, she's coming from Invicta, and she is actually like, she's beaten UFC fighters and ex-UFC fighters. Like, she's actually good, and all of her losses are against good fighters. She has a split loss to Carolina. She lost to Alexa Grasso, and she also lost to Virna Jandiroba, and I rate Virna Jandiroba very highly. Like, I think she's really good. She just fought Carla Esparza in a really close fight. And like this fight, this is the way I see it. Mizuki is way better everywhere. Like, she's way more skilled. If they're at range, Mizuki will out jab her all day. She's also better on the floor. She's literally better in every single area. And then Wu Yanan, she's not very skilled, and like, she's just kind of like raw and kind of aggressive. And she looks super uncomfortable. She's almost like fighting in a way where she's kind of confused on what's going on. So she's just kind of like throwing some punches here and there and like clinching up. But like, the way I see it is Wu Yanan has to win. She guards up Lauren Mueller. It's going to be very low percentage for her to sub Mizuki. I just don't think that's going to happen. It would be a shock. Mizuki's really legitimate on the floor. From a technical perspective, I don't think she'll get caught in an armbar or something. Wu Yanan won't get a KO either. I pretty much do not see a finishing path for Wu Yanan. So it's like, she kind of has to win by decision, and the way I could see her maybe winning rounds is pushing up Mizuki using her size, because she is 5 foot. By the way, I'm playing Mizuki here, just so you know. She could use her size because she's actually quite a bit bigger, and she came in overweight, so she's going to have a size advantage, and Mizuki's coming up a weight class. So I could see that coming into play, and using her size to push up Mizuki up against the cage. But even in those situations, if they clinch up, I think Mizuki throws more strikes from that position. So I don't think, like, the way she clinches you up, it doesn't look like she's winning, if that makes sense. Like, it doesn't even look all that dominant in the eyes of the judges, because she's, one, not throwing strikes, and she's just kind of holding onto you, and she can't really get takedowns. So I could see, so that's like her one way of maybe winning rounds, and I just don't think it's like that big of a deal, because Mizuki could easily compensate by landing some strikes and taking the round, and she's a better striker. And then I could maybe see top time too, just because she's bigger, and Mizuki does have a tendency to play guard, which is, it's annoying to bet people like that who tend to do that. but I think Wu Yanan's just too raw and too aggressive on top to just lay on top for 15 minutes. I think she'll like go for something, and Mizuki, she'll like try to advance because she's just super aggressive. And I think Mizuki will overall just be able to use that aggressiveness to either get back up, or she might not get taken down anyway, but she could get back up, catch a sub off her back herself, or just kind of use a sweep or something and kind of just reverse position. Like, I overall just don't think Wu Yanan's skilled enough, and she's too wild to hold top time a lot. So the way I see it is she has to win via top time, and I just don't see it as a great win condition, even with the size, because she doesn't have the skills to back it up. And then against the cage, I don't think like the optics look all that round winning whenever she pushes you up against the cage anyway. And I just think where Mizuki has the other advantages in the striking, she throws strikes from the clinch and at distance, she'll piece up Wu Yanan at range. Like, she's way faster and she can actually slip punches. And also, if Mizuki gets on top, I could see her advancing and getting a sub. So overall, I just think Mizuki's a lot better. The size does worry me a little bit, but I think this fight, I just think Mizuki is so much, we have the much more skilled fighter, and I would probably put her around about 7 out of 10 to win this fight. So I have no issues playing the current line at minus 135. That's an implied like 57% implied probability or something. So it's like, I think we got a little bit of an edge on the books here, and I'm willing to play it. Also, I'm not into props that much. You guys know that, because I can't get as much money down on some of those props. But I do think Mizuki, I played her by submission at plus 700, and like anything from like plus 500 to plus 800 is amazing for her submission line, because that's generally how she wins. And I could easily see her just being levels above Wu on the floor and subbing her. So that's my overall opinion. The size may come into play, but I just don't think Wu's good enough anyway to like make it matter. So that's what I think. Kai Kara-France and Mark De La Rosa. I tend to think Kai Kara-France will win because he's a little busier. Like, Mark De La Rosa just doesn't put stamps on rounds all that much, and sometimes he'll just kind of get caught standing and not throwing. And I tend to think Kai Kara-France will win the fight, but I don't want to play him at minus 210. I think he's a little too, I don't think he's good enough to be playing there, because that's an implied 67%, 68% win probability. So you have to assume he wins about 75 to 78% of the time to make it a good play. And I can't confidently put him there. Like, I think the line's about right, and I just don't want to play it. Dos Santos and Li Jingliang, and the Leech. I think this line might be a little wide, but I'd rather live bet this, because the Leech kind of starts off slow. Like, if you look at his striking stats in the first round, he doesn't always start off all that well, and he's a little like chinny too. So I'd rather kind of live bet this, because even if the Leech wins the first round, I could see this turning into a bit of a brawl. Even if he kind of wins the first round, he could still be an underdog with a round under his belt, and us kind of being able to see how the fight's playing out a little bit. So I kind of just want to stay away from that fight. I tend to think Zaleski will win, but I do think Zaleski's a little overrated. But I'd rather just kind of see what happens in the first round and go in for a live bet. Then the main event, Andrade and Weili Zhang. So this is I tweeted this out. I think this has the chance to be one of the best women's fight ever. If there's not a finish or something, like if it plays out, both these girls would go forward, and it could be a lot of fun. Like, this could be a legit fucking women's MMA fight. And as far as betting, people are extremely passionate on both sides. Like, I see people throwing the house on Andrade, and I see people also and people who I converse with in MMA, people playing Zhang as well. And this is my overall opinion. I think it's hard to be completely sure either way who's going to win here. But how do I want to explain this fight? Because there's a lot going on in my mind. But the way I see it is Andrade, like, we kind of know what we're going to get. We know she's going to be going forward and throwing a shitload of strikes, throwing a lot of hooks, and we know she's going to be going for her takedowns and mixing in everything, and there's going to be a lot of offense coming her way. And her game's kind of dependent sometimes, generally, to gas you out and take you out later and kind of take over. And so then if you look at Zhang, I think she is going to have success early. Like, she's going to have success. I played Andrade against Rose, and I thought Rose was going to absolutely piece her up early, and she did. And there's a lot of debate on that fight, but eventually I thought Andrade would take over. That was my justification for playing Rose. The fight didn't play out enough to see exactly how that would go, but I did think she was closing the gap a little bit. And versus Zhang, I think that needs to happen too. Like, I think Andrade needs to take over. And it's just hard to know for sure whether or not Zhang will slow down. I think this whole fight depends on whether or not Andrade can overwhelm her with the cardio, and whether or not Zhang can kind of consistently fight with that pace. And the way I see it is we don't know for sure. We really don't. You can just assign probabilities to it. And the way I see it is I do think Zhang shows really good cardio in a lot of her fights, but we haven't seen her in a high-paced fight like this, so I just don't know if she can. It's very possible she could, but I do think it's more likely that she kind of does get overwhelmed, just because pretty much every girl except Joanna, but Joanna can fight going backwards, and also Joanna has insane cardio as well. It's possible that, and fighting backwards is a lot different. It's more energy exerting, and we haven't seen Zhang kind of going backwards all that often, so that could also gas her out too. We don't know. But it's like, I'm not for sure, because Zhang has shown really good cardio, so maybe she can keep up with the pace, but I just think it's more likely than not that she can't keep up, and she'll probably kind of start to lose the fight kind of clearly later. But I mean, if her cardio holds up, I think she's gonna win, to be completely honest. So I did decide to play Andrade because I'm just playing probabilities here. Like, both girls can win this fight, and I think it's totally dependent on whether or not Zhang can hang with the cardio. But I think it's just, if you assign probabilities, it's more likely that she can't, because most girls can't, and Andrade is a fucking freak. And until Zhang proves it to me that she can hang with, she hasn't fought like someone like Andrade who can push you back and go crazy. And until she fights someone and proves it to me, I'm willing to go with the more proven commodity in Jessica Andrade. That's my overall kind of opinion on the fight. That's kind of my main point. So I am playing 2 units on Andrade. I don't want to go crazy on it. So I'm not, like, 2 units it's kind of like a moderate play. It's not a deal breaker if it doesn't hit. But it's still like a decent play. And just because it's this assumption fight of whether or not Zhang can kind of like keep up with the cardio, and I'm not sure. I just tend to think she won't. And because it's in China, so that crowd's going to be going fucking crazy. Because of those 2 things, I decided to pull back my bet a little bit, and just kind of be responsible. So yeah, that's kind of why I decided to pull back, just on a couple unit play. As far as like more aspects of the fight, I did see a fight with one thing I'm very confident in if this fight plays out, because I think either girl can knock the other out, to be completely honest. I think Andrade is very hittable, and we've seen that before, and Zhang will probably get off to an early lead, but I also think Zhang's hittable, and I think people playing Zhang aren't admitting that, because Danielle Taylor and Tisha Torres even tagged her at times, and they don't even throw. So Andrade is going to be throwing a shitload. So I think Andrade is going to land a lot too. I do think Zhang will land clean as well. So both girls can knock each other out. And then as far as kind of how the wrestling matches up, I do think Andrade is a better wrestler. It's pretty clear to me that Zhang is upper body focused, and her offense comes from over-unders and kind of clenching up and using throws and things like that. And her defense is good when you go for takedowns like that. But when legs come into play from an offensive standpoint or a defensive standpoint, she's noticeably not as good. And I haven't seen her do a lot of like double legs whenever you go below the waist. I'm talking about like a lot of takedowns like that. I just haven't seen her do. And as far as defensively, I had a hunch that she wasn't good there because I kind of saw that concept, and I had a feeling like her leg takedown defense, like defending her legs, probably wasn't that good. And then I found a fight that was kind of hard to find, Aline Saddlemeyer, and it kind of confirmed exactly what I was thinking. And Aline Saddlemeyer couldn't always finish the takedown, but she kept getting up Zhang up against the cage, and Zhang has a tendency to then kind of hold on to a guillotine to kind of maintain control a little bit. And when you do that versus Andrade, we know Andrade, her main takedown, we saw it versus Rose when it ended with a slam, but she always does that takedown on people. That one just happened to end in a slam. But she always gets that crotch lift and picks you up and slams you. And she pushes you up against the cage and kind of does it. And when Zhang goes for that guillotine, she's putting the top half of her body, her weight, kind of on the back of Andrade. And that's kind of doing the work for Andrade. And so Andrade is just going to pick her up and slam her when she does shit like that. And when I watched that Aline Saddlemeyer fight, all it was screaming to me was that Andrade she's going to get those takedowns. If this fight plays out, I'm very confident she'll get some like single leg pickups and some takedowns from there. I really think she'll get her wrestling going. The question is whether or not Zhang can get back up. And that's kind of the unknown. Tecia Torres stayed on top of her for a minute at the end of round 2. And that was like, that's not a great sign for Zhang, but Tecia stays a little more chest to chest while Andrade will posture up and throw punches, and Zhang likes to throw a lot of up kicks and create separation to get up. So I could see her getting back up, but she might not. Like, we don't know for sure. I haven't seen enough of her game there to be sure. I tend to think she'll get up at times, but she will be held down at times. She'll get up at times. That's kind of the way I see it, but she's going to keep getting taken down, I think. So the thing is, it's all going to come down to the cardio, though, because if she gets taken down and she's not tired and can get back up and still kind of be there, then she can still win. So it's really based on the cardio, but I do think Andrade will get the wrestling going either way. But yeah, sorry, I ranted hard on this one, so sorry about that. But to sum it up, I think Zhang Andrade all comes down to Zhang's cardio, and I think it's more likely Andrade is the better play because she's a more proven commodity. But I totally could see Zhang winning at the same time. But I'm just playing stats here. I'm not playing like a hot take type of argument. And then also played on Mizuki, and I think her subline's good too. And then Demir and Sukhamthath are kind of TBD. So that's all my plays. Thank you so much, and give the video a thumbs up. And if you have any comments, comment below. Thanks.